Welcome to Ping 24 Updates, where you get the most important news and stories from around the world every day. Subscribe my channel and click the bell icon to stay informed. Headlines: Flash, Manila misses target, but momentum builds. The World Bank projects the Philippines will hit upper middle income status by 2026. This isn't just about GDP, it's about power. The Philippines, with over 117 million people, is on the verge of a historic transformation. For decades, it's been a cornerstone of Western strategy in the Pacific. But as its economy grows, so does its independence. A new confidence is emerging, one that prioritizes Philippine interests and alliances, not just Western ones. This shift is sending tremors through Washington, London, and Brussels. What happens when a reliable ally starts acting on its own terms? Tonight, we dive into the top 5 fears in Western capitals as the Philippines redefines its place in the world. This is about a nation's rise and the anxieties it creates. For decades, the U.S.-Philippines alliance has been a cornerstone of regional security, firmly anchored by the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. This agreement, signed in the aftermath of World War II, symbolized a deep commitment to mutual protection and shared interests in the Asia-Pacific. Manila was the go-to partner for hosting U.S. military bases, conducting joint exercises like Balikatan, and serving as a linchpin for Western security strategies in the region. The alliance was seen as unshakable, with both sides benefiting from close military cooperation. But as the Philippines experiences rapid economic growth and modernization, it's no longer content to play the role of a junior partner. The country's rising economic clout has fueled a desire for greater autonomy and respect on the world stage. A more assertive, independent foreign policy is emerging, one where decisions are guided by a Philippines-first mindset. Leaders are recalibrating priorities, weighing national interests above old loyalties. This isn't a dramatic breakup, but rather a subtle, steady decoupling of interests. The shift is gradual but unmistakable as Manila carves out its own path. The once predictable alliance is now clouded by uncertainty, with both sides reassessing their expectations and commitments. Will Manila continue to grant base access for Western operations, or will it impose new conditions and limitations? Will it support sanctions or diplomatic moves without question, or will it chart its own diplomatic course, sometimes at odds with Western priorities? The answer is no longer automatic. Each decision is now weighed carefully, with national interest at the forefront. The Pentagon and State Department are reevaluating their strategies as the region's strategic map blurs and alliances become more fluid. The Philippines is actively engaging with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and ASEAN, building new partnerships and strengthening regional ties on its own terms. American influence, once dominant, is now just one voice among many in Manila's increasingly diverse diplomatic landscape. This realignment is driven by a new generation of leaders and a nationalistic public, both focused on pragmatic outcomes and future opportunities over historical ties and obligations. The West's core anxiety is clear: what happens if a key ally decides to chart its own course, independent of traditional Western influence? The defensive structure built over 70 years starts to look fragile as cracks appear in the once solid foundation of the alliance. It's not about the Philippines becoming an adversary, but about the loss of certainty and the diminishing influence the West once took for granted. Economic freedom now means Manila can say no, let's discuss, or even let's try something new, fundamentally shifting the power dynamic and opening doors to new alliances. The days of automatic compliance are over, unsettling Western strategists who must now adapt to a more complex and unpredictable partner. Strategic drift is already visible: a denied port call here, a separate diplomatic track there, each move signaling a shift in priorities. Each small move adds up, signaling a quiet rebellion against the old order and a growing confidence in Manila's independent voice. The underlying fear is that as the Philippines grows stronger, it becomes less dependent and, in turn, more unpredictable and assertive on the world stage. The strategic realignment has begun, and no one in Washington can say with certainty where this new chapter will ultimately lead. For decades, the West held sway over investment, technology, and markets in the Philippines, shaping the nation's economic landscape to fit global interests. Manila, in turn, became a reliable source of labor and raw materials, fueling industries far beyond its shores. But now, the script is changing. The Philippines is steadily moving up the value chain, developing its own technology, fintech, and creative industries, and nurturing a new generation of innovators. Homegrown firms are not just serving local markets, they're expanding across Southeast Asia, competing directly with established Western companies and making their mark on the regional stage. Manufacturing is evolving too. The government is actively pushing for domestic production of semiconductors, electric vehicles, and green technology, aiming to build a more self-reliant industrial base. Every new factory opening and each patent granted signals a decisive move away from economic dependency and towards innovation. The growing middle class is increasingly choosing local or regional brands over Western ones, fueling a sense of national pride and economic confidence. Western leverage, once rooted in aid and investment, is fading as Manila diversifies its economy and builds new trading partnerships across Asia and the Middle East. It's becoming much harder to pressure a government that no longer relies on a single source for its survival or prosperity. In Western boardrooms, anxiety is growing. A once captive market is now emerging as a formidable competitor, challenging old assumptions. The Philippines is transforming from a market to be exploited into a rival to be reckoned with its own ambitions and global reach. Major infrastructure projects are now financed by local conglomerates and increasingly by capital from Eastern partners, reducing reliance on Western funding. This diversification of investment sources threatens the long-standing financial dominance of the West in the region. The real fear is that if the Philippines succeeds, it sets a powerful precedent for other developing nations to follow a non-Western path to prosperity and self-determination. Economic displacement is ultimately about losing control. The old levers of influence no longer work as they once did. As the Philippines builds its own capacity and infrastructure, it's writing a bold new playbook for economic independence, one that others may soon adopt. Nothing worries Washington more than the Philippines' evolving relationship with China. China is both a neighbor and a rival, but also a massive economic partner, offering tourists, markets, and crucial infrastructure funding. This economic pull competes directly with historic Western ties. Western fear: the Philippines could become the weak link in the strategy to contain China. Chinese companies are building bridges and industrial parks, creating deep economic and political ties. Each project forges new constituencies in Manila with a stake in good relations with Beijing. Debt trap diplomacy is a concern, but the lure of fast, large-scale Chinese investment is hard to resist. The Philippines now plays both sides, talking tough on sovereignty, but taking Chinese cash for development. This duality makes Manila unpredictable for the West. The core anxiety economic interests may eventually outweigh strategic alliances. If Manila tilts further east, the Western position in the South China Sea could unravel. It's not about switching sides, but about leveraging both giants for maximum gain. For the West, this transactional approach erodes alliance clarity and introduces uncertainty. The fear, by trying to ride two horses, the Philippines could be trampled by one, leaving Western strategy in tatters. The most insidious Western fear isn't just about the Philippines, it's about the powerful example it sets for the entire region and beyond. For decades, the West promoted a single model: embrace democracy, open markets, and align with Western institutions to achieve prosperity and stability. But now, the Philippines is challenging that model, pursuing economic growth and political independence while skillfully balancing both the US and China, refusing to be anyone's pawn. If Manila succeeds, why wouldn't Vietnam, Malaysia, or Indonesia consider following a similar path, questioning old alliances and forging new strategies? This is the demonstration effect. A successful, independent Philippines could inspire a domino effect, reshaping the political landscape across Southeast Asia. The West's influence could gradually erode as ASEAN nations pursue their own interests, downgrading Western leadership to just another voice in the room. The Philippines is showing the world you don't have to be a compliant partner to succeed on the global stage. Nationalism and strategic ambiguity, once seen as risky, can actually be powerful assets, not liabilities, in a multipolar world. This emerging Manila model offers a third way: assertive non-alignment, playing great powers off each other to maximize national advantage. The anxiety is real. Decades of careful Western diplomatic work could unravel as ASEAN fragments into a collection of independent, unpredictable actors. The West's moral authority weakens if the Philippines proves there's another, perhaps more effective path to success and development. Western soft power, education, culture, ideals could fade if a homegrown model delivers better results and resonates more with local aspirations. The Philippines is rapidly becoming a case study not just in textbooks but in the minds of future leaders across Asia. If its model works, others will surely follow, eager to replicate its success and independence. The real fear? The Philippines is not an outlier but a trendsetter, ushering in a new era of independent, assertive medium powers and changing the rules of the game for everyone. The final fear: asymmetric independence. It's not about matching US military might, but about making the Philippines hard to coerce. Manila is modernizing its military, buying advanced missiles, frigates, and aircraft from a range of suppliers. The goal: a credible independent deterrent, a porcupine defense that raises the cost of aggression. Anti-access/area denial capabilities mean any hostile fleet near the archipelago is at risk. These systems, while aimed at China, could also limit Western freedom of action. Manila is also investing in cyber and intelligence, moving from passive recipient to independent operator. Intelligence independence means Manila can form its own conclusions and protect its secrets. This makes the relationship with the West more equal and less predictable. Economic independence is growing too, with investments in digital payments, satellites, and cyber-secure infrastructure. Each new capability is one less lever for outside influence. The fear: a secure, independent Philippines could confidently pursue policies that contradict Western goals. This is the culmination of all the other fears: strategic realignment, economic displacement, and a tilt to the east, now with real muscle. The West must face a new reality. Its long-standing partner is now a truly independent actor, an unpredictable variable in the global game. So, what does this all mean? The Philippines' rise is a microcosm of a global power shift. Old maps of influence are being redrawn as medium-sized powers assert themselves. Which of these Western fears do you think is most potent? Let us know in the comments. If you value these deep dives, like and subscribe to Ping 24 Updates. Are we seeing a new, more equitable model of development, or are Western fears justified? One thing is certain: the world is in flux and the Philippines is at the center of it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned as we track this transformation and its global impact.